Alright, hello everyone. I'm going to do another cooking tutorial today. This is the Southwest egg rolls. They're so delicious, and what I do is make a bunch and freeze them, and then you can take them out and heat them up one at a time. So what you're going to need is 2 chicken breasts. If you want to make it vegetarian, you can eliminate the chicken breast and just use the beans. Half a red pepper diced, 5 green onions, um, 2/3 cup of corn. I like white corn. A half, what I just is do a whole package, like this is how many ounces of pepper jack cheese. 8-ounce package of pepper jack cheese. Okay, also you're going to need some spinach. I just use a bag. You can use if you're going to use the box, the frozen box, you would want to use 2 boxes. I'm trying to find a measurement on this. This is 1 pound. So I used to use this frozen bag of 1 pound spinach, thaw it out, and then you got to squeeze the water out of it. Half a can of black beans, although I've eliminated that. I don't use the black beans anymore, but the traditional recipe would call for a half can of black beans. And then you're going to need some tortillas. So I have a couple packages of just soft flour tortillas. I may not use 2 packs, but I think I will use more than 1 package. And then what I do is I use that bag and I wrap them up and put them right back in that bag. Also, you're going to need some seasonings. Now, Emerald's makes a good Southwest seasoning, but if you don't want to, if you can't find it or don't want to use it, here's what the seasoning would be: 2 tablespoons of chili powder, 2 tablespoons of ground cumin, 2 tablespoons of paprika, 1 teaspoon of black pepper, 1 teaspoon of ground coriander, 1 teaspoon of cayenne pepper, 1 tablespoon of garlic powder, 1 teaspoon of crushed red pepper, 1 teaspoon of salt, and 1 tablespoon of dried oregano. You know, that's if you're going to make. I used to do this because we would make a big batch of it when we had the bar. We used to sell these as food, and we had to make a ton of them at one time. I still make a ton, but not that many. So the first thing I'm going to do, and I've got these chicken breasts thawed out. I'm going to dice them up into nice little pieces, and then I'm going to soak them in some rice wine, soy sauce, sugar, and cornstarch. So I'm going to get going with the chopping. I'm going to chop all my vegetables. I have 2 chopping boards because I always use one for vegetables and one for meat. Shred my cheese up, my cheese, get all my veggies chopped up, and then we're going to go ahead and put it together. I'm going to do this first because I want to let these chicken breasts marinate a little. So I'll come back in a minute and show you the next step. Okay, I'm back, and I have the chicken all diced up, nice and small little chunks. It's still just a tiny bit frozen, and that's okay because it makes it easier to cut, actually. So I don't really know any measurements. I just give it like a little, maybe that's a tablespoon of this rice wine. And then I give a few shots of some soy sauce in there, like that. And then we add, you know, just a tad of sugar. I've actually only got a tablespoon. Should have brought like a teaspoon over here. I don't know, half of that. Throw that in. And then we're going to use like a good tablespoon of, this is cornstarch. Okay, so I've got that all on the chicken stuff. And I'm just going to kind of give it a swirl around, because it's kind of going to get like a nice coating, a nice paste. It's, you know, marinade slash paste, I guess. So it kind of looks like that. And then I'm just going to set this aside and let it kind of continue to thaw and let those flavors soak into that meat. And I'm going to go back and slice up these vegetables, and I'll be back in a minute to show you the next step. Okay, everybody, I am back, and I've got everything chopped up and raring to go. So now it's just a matter of kind of putting it all together. I got to get this pan hot, and we got to get some oil going in this pan. You know, you can use olive oil, I suppose, but I don't know, for like, this is sort of like a stir fry, I guess. I always tend to want to go with more of a vegetable oil. So I'm using like a canola. Okay, so I'm going to get that going in the pan. You don't need much. Just cover the bottom. Now here we're back at this chicken, right? So I'm going to, even though you let that soak in that, you don't really want that in the, I lost my little dish here. I'll use this one. You don't really want that in the pan. You know, you want to kind of get rid of a lot of that. So I'm just pushing it up. And then I'm going to put it in the pan. So I'm just getting rid of some of that slimy stuff, that liquidy stuff, and just kind of try to get some of it off. But you do want a little on there too, because it kind of makes like a coating on the, makes a coating over the chicken. So we're going to brown this chicken. We want it broke apart, like into individual pieces. I'm going to give this bowl a wipe, a rinse and a wipe, because I'm going to, after this chicken is nice and browned, I'm going to put it back in this bowl, because then we're going to do the veggies right after, just like a stir fry almost. Okay, so I'm going to brown up this chicken and I'm going to rinse out the bowl, and I'll be back in a minute. Okay, I'm back. I just went and rinsed that bowl out real quick. Also, now you want to add some of your seasoning. So I'm going to give get a little bit of that on all of the meat. And just keep turning it around. Chicken cooks up real fast. So it's got a nice amount of that seasoning on it. And again, if you can't find the Southwest, then you can just make it. I gave the ingredients at the very beginning. It's so much easier, though. I mean, we used to, because we had to make them so often, because these were really a top seller at the bar. We just end up making it ourselves because it was cheaper and we needed a lot of it. But for me, I make these, I still make up the batch, but I do it, once a year or so, and I just keep these in my freezer. And it's a nice light meal, especially in the summer. You just pop one of these out and let it thaw. It's not really recommended to microwave. I might put it in the microwave just for a second to thaw it, but then I bake it. And I mean, you could deep fry these for sure, but for some reason I've always just put them in the toaster oven and toasted them, and I'm sure that's healthier. Okay, so I'm going through and getting these browned up. If there's any larger pieces, like you don't want really large pieces in there. You kind of want them broke up into nice little small pieces. And again, if you're vegetarian, you could just skip this part. It's fine with beans. And I've even made them with garbanzo bean and black bean. Or, so if you were going to do vegetarian, you might want to try that. Or just straight black bean. I'm sure that'd be okay. Whereas you use a half can in the regular recipe, which I don't even put the beans in. I'm not a big fan of black beans. I don't really like them too much. So I just took them out. But if you were going to just do vegetarian, maybe you do a whole can. Probably a whole can of black beans. Drain them, get rid of all that gooey, that stuff that comes in the black beans. It's kind of got like a thick, gooey thing in there. You want to get rid of that, and I would rinse them and get them nice and clean. So we always brown the meat first and remove it, because of course, with any meat, you've got to make sure that it's really cooked. Because you can't, raw chicken and pork, I don't eat any raw meat. I don't eat a lot of meat, period, but, I don't like bloody steaks or anything rare. I like it cooked or not at all. Could be eliminated. Okay, so I'm going to kind of try to see if there's any pink, and it's looking just like they're about done. I just want to give a quick overview, make sure it's really done. There's no pink pieces of chicken left, and I think there is not. So I'm going to go ahead and put this back in my cleaned out the bowl. I'm just putting this chicken over here in the bowl. Now, because that absorbed the oil, I'm just going to do another dousing of oil. Like that. And then I'm going to, you start with your hard vegetables always. So I've got... I ended up using the whole, this is the green onions. I ended up using only 4 green onions. Or, yeah, only 4. And I used the whole pepper. Because what you want to end up with, it wasn't that large of a pepper to begin with. You kind of want to end up with even amounts. So you don't have to always stick to that recipe so by the book. You want to end up with about the same amount. So that's about the same. Green onion and red pepper. Look at this heat high, and I'm just going to get, cook them a little bit first. Okay, so I've got those in there nice and cooking. There's also going to be some corn added and spinach added. But first we want to get these hard vegetables kind of cooked down a little bit. Okay, I'm going to turn the camera off. I'm going to give this a couple minutes and I'll turn it back on. Back in a minute. Okay, I'm back and I've just got these. They're just starting to get soft. You don't want them too soft. You still want to have a little bit of crunch to them. So now I'm going to get my spinach, which I've drained out. I'm going to get that in there. It's almost looking like it might be too much. And if that's the case, I may not use all of it. I'm going to dump that in. I'm going to dump in my corn. Now on the spinach too, you got to get in there and just break that stuff up because it's just, you know, you can't have those big clobs like that. You want it all nice, evenly distributed, nice and mixed up. I may have to kind of look at it. That's my thing. I'm going to turn this heat down some because I think we don't need it so high anymore. I still have my fork here, so let me try to get this fork and really break up that spinach. So I'm debating on whether I'm going to add. I don't want any of these big clumps in there. I want that all really broke up nice and good. You don't want to bite into just a big glob of spinach. You want to be able to taste all the different vegetables each bite. And if you were going to add the black beans, this would be the time to throw the black beans in as well, which if you're using meat, you would put in, again, half a can drained and rinsed and dried. You don't want any liquid in them. You want to get all that goop off of them that comes in the can. And I think, I don't know, I might put just a tiny bit more in, but I'm not going to use all that spinach. That was too much. I think that was a little too much. Now I'm going to add that chicken back in there too. And give it a nice stir around. Look at all that color. It's just so colorful and festive. It just looks healthy. You know, the variety of colors, it just kind of looks healthy. And it is pretty healthy. I mean, there's a little bit of frying going on. And then if you're going to stir fry deep fry rather, you know, I'm going to get a different spoon because this spoon is coming apart. It's not working out too well. Here's a different one. Okay, much better. This will help me get that stuff broke up. Now we're going to go back over it and give it a nice dousing of the emeralds too. Or, you know, whatever, the Southwest. Again, you could make it on your own, but this really does give that good flavor. That's definitely part of it. Yeah, I think this is good. So I didn't use all that spinach, anywhere near all that spinach. I used probably about half of it. So my measurements were wrong. Maybe by the bag of spinach it might have meant, you know, a bag that you buy in the fresh produce department. Because if you put too much more in here, it would just be too much. Oops. And I do want to have a little taste. I don't want to use that spoon that I'll use this spoon. I didn't want to use that spoon that I used in the raw chicken. Let me have a little taste. Definitely needs more of this seasoning. I can't even taste it. I'm going to use a lot of that. Really get a good coating on everything. So I'm using quite a bit, but it really does need it. It's pretty mild and pretty bland. I'm looking at this. I may want to put in a little bit more spinach, but I'm not sure. Okay, little taste. That's the ticket. So now it really does have that great Southwest flavoring. Um, Still thinking about maybe throwing in just a tiny bit more spinach, but not too much more. Yeah, maybe this much more. So, maybe about, 2/3 of a bag I probably used. So I really want to get it all mixed up. And then there's the very last step is going to be to add that grated cheese on there. So, yeah, that looks about right. Okay, I'm going to turn that heat off, and I'm going to add in the grated pepper jack cheese. And it's, I usually use one. I think I'm used to double this recipe or something. I think because it's off, I'm not going to use all of that. So maybe about a half of that 8-ounce. I think that was the deal with the spinach too. I think those proportions are off because I think I used to double it because we made so much of it when we had it at the bar. Let me just give this a stir around and see. Yeah, this is plenty. That's absolutely plenty. It's about half of that brick of cheese. You know, that's about what really is needed, called for. Not a whole brick. Well, it's better to have more than enough than not enough. You can always you don't have to put it all in. I kind of just go by the way it looks and the way it smells. You know, I know that's not the best way to teach somebody how to make something, but so we got it down to about, probably half a bag of spinach or one box, and then half of that container of cheese. Okay, so that cheese is going to melt in there. It's off the heat. It's got to cool down because it's too hot to handle now, and then we're going to wrap it up in the tortillas. So I'll be back to show you that. I got to clean my stove and everything. I'll be back to show you that once it's cooled down. Back in a bit. Okay, so here we are. This is the final phase in the Southwest egg rolls. The tortillas that I happen to have are very soft, so they're fine to work with. If you find that they're a little hard, you may want to put them in the microwave for half a minute to just soften them up a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to get it's been a while. Again, I make these about once a year, some of these dishes. So I'm going to get like a good heaping tablespoon of the filler and put it in there. Needs a little more. Just make like a nice, like that amount. Like a nice tube in the middle. Kind of tube it up. And then it's almost just like, what's like folding, I guess, a burrito or any kind of, take your tortilla, and I'm going to make sure I can see this on camera. Yeah. Take your tortilla, roll it once, fold it, and roll it the rest of the way. Always the first one or two, I'm a little rusty. It takes me a minute to get it. Okay, so then what you do with these, how you make sure that they're going to like stay together, you get some plastic wrap, and then I'm going to move this pan out of the way. We'll do it right here. I got some stuff on the table. Don't let it get all stuck together. Get your plastic wrap, and that's going to make it like be tight. It's going to tighten it up and make it stay together. And these are all going to be frozen. I'm not going to eat any of these today. I might save a little bit of the filling and have a bowl of that, but these are going to be frozen. So I get them in here and give it a really tight wrap in the plastic wrap, and then it kind of forms itself that way, and when it freezes, it's definitely froze itself that way. So what I do is, okay, so here I have my finished product. I take the bag that the tortillas came in, I put them right there, and then I stick this Ziplocs at the top. I put the whole bag of them in a freezer, and then you can just pull out one, microwave it. I wouldn't microwave it, actually, maybe just to take the chill. If it's best toasted, I guess you could deep fry them, but they're great, healthy, low calorie, single serving meal. Excellent. Try it at home. Okay, a final thought about this dinner. What I was telling you about the tortillas, you get them like crispy. You put them in the oven until they get like a nice crispy crunch, and then cut them in half and maybe serve them with a little bit of something to dip in, light ranch dressing or whatever you really want. But another option, if you had a large family, you could just make this and roll them up and eat them soft in the soft tortilla too. That's also really, really good and really tasty. Okay, I'm back. I thought I should show how to cook them after you've done this. So this one was in the freezer, and I've always made them in the freezer first. I've never just tried to roll them and then bake them, or roll them and deep fry them. I've never deep fried them at all. I think the baking is just fine. But when you do freeze them, they kind of really form that shape real well. And what I did is I just let it set out, but just kind of feel it. So it's sort of soft in the middle. It's not going to be hard. You can sort of tell. You may have to microwave it for, a half a minute to just get that going. And then I'm just going to pop this into a toaster oven on toast and both sides, and it's going to get brown and crispy, and I'll show you it when it comes out. Back in a minute. Okay, everyone, I'm back, and I did overcook it a little. Don't do what I do and walk away and forget about it, because the toast cooks it fast if you have a toast setting on your toaster oven. But this is really, it's a little overcooked like that. But see, you want it, this is soft. See, normally you would have it kind of like this, golden brown on both sides. Got a little burnt there, but I'll deal with it. So I didn't bother flipping the other side because it's like it's cooked enough. So it comes out of the toaster oven like this, and it's perfectly wonderful. There's no need to get it all full of grease and deep fried. I take a serrated knife with serrated edge, oops, and kind of give it sort of like a diagonal cut like that. See? And you open it up. Ooh, it's hot. Like that. And then you can serve it up. I'm going to use a low-fat ranch dressing, and they're excellent. As I said, I never have deep fried them. I either make them like this, freeze them and make them like this, or roll them up fresh with the soft tortillas, like I said before. Those would be the two ways to eat them. But they're great. They come right back out of the freezer, quite delicious. So I'm going to have this for lunch right now. Try it at home.